SWEPCO Park.
SWEPCO Park.
The SWEPCO Park thing is really what brought me to Allendale Strong.
Mm-hmm.
When I heard about what they were doing to Allendale, to SWEPCO Park, that lit a fire in me to say, oh, hold up, let me find out what's going on.
The city was trying to make SWEPCO Park not a park.
And now here is SWEPCO Park. They're looking at any little thing, to knock Allendale out. But even with the SWEPCO Park, okay, we're going to unpark the park. Let's go pull out all the playground equipment. Let's go take down the pavilion. But I remember, what is his name? I call him Poetic X, but we were out to the park, and I remember one time I want to say it was his daughter, came up and said to me while someone had come out to the park to tear the pavilion down that they took all our playground equipment away. While they were out there.
It was my daughter's birthday. And then we returned to the park, and they get out the car, and then they start running because just the day before, they were playing in the park on the playground equipment. So they get out the car, and then they go to running in the park, and then they look back, and then they say, well, Dad, it's no equipment here. It's gone.
Now that's cold.
The reason they were trying to tear the park out, and as we say, unpark the park, was because they needed it out of the way so they could build their highway through. That particular spot of land is holding up progress. They're going to have to build over it or around it or whatever. And they didn't think of that. They didn't do their homework and see that beforehand. There's really so many historic sites. I think over 40 historic and culturally significant sites where important things happen in their route. They couldn't have picked a worse place. It's illegal under the 1966 Transportation Act of Congress to build a highway through you can build it through a church, through a neighborhood, but you can't build it through a park, a public recreation area. Lewis got word that they were going to pull the pavilion down, and the whole thing was on a lie. So Lewis and I headed straight over there, and he can get there quicker than I can. He lives closer, but we headed straight over and just sat under it like an old-fashioned sit-in, and the SPAR Parks and Recreation, Shreveport Parks and Recreation people kept coming up to check on the pavilion, to inspect it. And we'd be like, hey, what are y'all doing? They'd be like, well, we're here checking on the pavilion. We're fixing to tear it out. What are y'all doing? We're like, we're here using the pavilion, and we're going to sit here all day and enjoy the weather. And so that became a huge showdown with the city. Another time, man, I got on the phone, called friends, and they started phone bombing the city hall and just keeping their phones, the mayor's office and Shelley Regal at SPAR. And Shelley was telling people, well, that's an old pavilion. It's like built in the 1950s. It's dangerous. It's got to come down. Well, no, it's not. It was built like in the 90s. It's in great shape. And so we just spent the day. People came and prayed with us. Other people came up and brought us something to eat. And we just hung out there. SPAR kept sending people up and saying, hey guys, what are y'all doing here? We're like, we're having a sit-in to stop you from tearing down the pavilion. No, we're not going to tear it down today. Yeah, you are. And so eventually the media caught on and came and hung out, and they did some live shots and stuff. And so the pavilion was saved.
That pavilion was Mayor Cedric Glover, when he was the councilman for Allendale, had that pavilion put in the mid 1990s. And, even that has some significance, even though this is now in our lifetimes, and Cedric Glover is still around and doing his thing, but he was Shreveport's first elected African-American mayor.
But even with that, they were trying to, what concerns me is that we are treated with no regard as far as our well-being. It's like they have no concern for our rights. We have a right to that park. We start cutting the park so that we can go in it and do things. We even start sitting up under the pavilion so they wouldn't tear it down. But they came up with all these excuses why it shouldn't be a park. So my thought was, if I took all the furniture out, my house is still my home. So you moved all the furniture out the park, it's still a park. And the fact is that you cannot bring a freeway over a park. Number one, they already know it's a historical community. They know that. As even last year, as they had searched out different things about this historical community, they know that it's there. This is something here. Fort Abbott Sidney Johnson is an area, and he was a Confederate.
Well,
That's another story.